After I gave birth to Chloe, Marcus and I hadn't been intimate for over a year. He felt for the pain I endured during childbirth and always took the initiative to care for Chloe. No matter how busy he was, he even claimed he would get a vasectomy. And I genuinely believed this was his way of showing his love for me. That was until I accidentally saw his chat with his secretary. Inside were explicit photos of her wearing sexy lace lingerie. His secretary, Ashley, purred playfully, "You didn't even spend Valentine's Day with me." "You hurt me last time," Marcus replied. "You know, ever since I was in the delivery room with her, I just find that part of her disgusting. Be a good girl, it'll satisfy you tomorrow." At that moment, I felt my blood boil, as if I were about to faint. The lace lingerie the girl was wearing. I had seen it before. I had accepted the package from Marcus yesterday. When I saw it, for a fleeting moment, I felt a surge of joy. Even though we hadn't been intimate for the past year, Marcus still remembered my size. To avoid spoiling the mood, I deliberately kept quiet. It turned out, I had been fooling myself. The gift wasn't for me. It was for a body more vibrant, more alluring. I clicked into the girl's social media feed. Her latest post showed her with a pair of bare, beautiful legs. The photographer's hand reached out, gently gripping her ankle. I recognized it as Marcus's hand. His knuckles were defined, his fingers long and slender, exuding an air of asceticism. The girl's caption read, "Seriously, this old man can never get enough. He's wearing me out." Only had liked the post. It seemed this particular post on her social media feed was an inside joke for them, visible only to the two of them. I scrolled further down. The girl frequently posted updates, showing off her life. Marcus's hand appeared in every photo, either holding her hand on a sun-drenched beach, or handing out his black card at a shopping mall, or a blurred figure appearing in front of a full-length mirror in the hotel. Without exception, I dug my nails into my palm, just barely holding back my sobs. After a moment of stunned silence, I frantically fumbled for my phone, gripping it with both hands to keep it steady. I unlocked my phone, feigning composure, and started recording. The girl's social media feed, and all posts related to Marcus, traced back a full year. That day was also Valentine's Day. I entrusted Chloe to the nanny, booked a restaurant, and carefully applied light makeup, just waiting for Marcus to finish work so we could have a long overdue date. But I waited until late into the night, and there was no word from him. As people passed by one, my heart felt utterly desolate. The next day, Marcus claimed he had been working overtime and even gave me an expensive necklace. But the girl's social media feed clearly documented otherwise. She had written, "This intoxicating affair. I want to see it through." With trembling hands, I first recorded all the social media posts and chat logs. Then I opened Marcus's Amazon account. I found that he was loyal. He bought contraception from the same brand and always booked the same hotel. The recipient of the payments wasn't Marcus. It was Ashley. I clutched my chest, a bitter laugh forming in my mind. His loyalty was consistent, even in this. Then I recorded the screen, one item after another. I heard movement from the bathroom. I immediately locked my phone and placed it back where it had been. Marcus emerged, wrapped only in a bath towel. I examined him closely, feeling a sense of detachment. Life was truly unfair. At 30, Marcus hadn't aged with the years. Instead, his vast experience only added to his charm. Water droplets splattered onto the floor. It wasn't until he stood before me, the fresh scent of mint filling my nostrils, that I suddenly snapped back to reality. "Honey, I'm sorry." He apologized first. I froze for a moment, but he explained, "I've been too busy with overtime lately, and I didn't even get you a gift for Valentine's Day." I recalled the messages in the chat, a cold laugh forming in my heart. But I didn't expose his lie. To comfort me, he pulled me into his arms, even passionately kissing me. But at the last moment, he suddenly stopped. He switched on the light. The bright light stung my eyes, making it difficult to keep them open. He irritably ran his hands through his hair. "Honey, I forgot again. How about we wait until I've had my vasectomy before we're intimate?" I looked at him, testing the waters. "Actually, it's fine. I've also mentioned to you that I'd like a second child." Marcus rolled out of bed, looking like he was going to take another cold shower in the bathroom. Hearing my words, he shook his head resolutely. "No second child. Chloe is our sole treasure, honey. I'm willing to remain chaste. The main reason is I can't bear for you to go through the pain of childbirth again for me. Wait until I get the vasectomy, okay?" I closed my eyes, offering no reply. The sound of running water in the bathroom started up again. I buried my head in the covers, leaving a small gap. And let my suppressed, choked sobs slowly release. Marcus coaxed me to sleep. He held me as possessive as he had been when we first married, but the thought that his embrace was also shared with another made me sick. I felt a wave of nausea. Until the sudden ring of his phone broke the silence. Marcus immediately cut the call. He tentatively waved a hand in front of my face, then whispered my name twice. Only when he saw I was fast asleep did he walk to the balcony. Barefoot, I quietly followed, my heart pounding rapidly. Unsure if it was from tension or sorrow, Marcus stood on the balcony, expertly blowing smoke. In the quiet night, the cooing voice from the other end of the line was clearly audible. Marcus, it's already past midnight. I'm already wearing the gift you gave me. Are you really so heartless you won't come open it? In that instant, I keenly noticed it. Marcus stirred. He muttered a low curse, calling her a little vixen. Immediately, he threw on the jacket from the sofa, didn't even go back into the bedroom, grabbed his car keys, and went downstairs. My feet were icy cold and my heart felt like it had fallen into an ice abyss. I didn't hesitate. I wrapped myself in a coat and left. I hailed a taxi and gave the address of the hotel Marcus frequently booked on his Amazon account. I checked the hotel reviews beforehand, surprisingly. I found their figures in the service reviews. Ashley was smiling, flashing a peace sign at the camera. Marcus, wearing a bathrobe, was openly embracing her. The review read, "The bed is soft, and the privacy is excellent. No matter how loud you get, the neighbors can't hear a thing." The streets were deserted in the early hours of the morning. The driver remained silent, speeding along. When we arrived at the hotel, I saw Marcus driving his car into the parking garage. As soon as I got out of the car, he was already walking out of the parking lot. To be honest, my hiding wasn't particularly clever. If he had looked up, he would have seen me instantly. My mind raced, calculating my options. Should I confront him directly, or continue to play along? But then, Marcus reached out his hand. A petite figure immediately flew into his arms, like a canary returning to its nest. Their laughter was audible even from a distance. The next moment, they began to passionately kiss. I clutched my phone, trembling, watching the two of them in the recording. It turned out he could be so bold and flamboyant when it came to love. 30-year-old Marcus now acted just like a reckless young man, discarding all pretense of dignity and maturity. He even reached his hand into Ashley's coat and caressed her. I stood there, stunned, the wind blowing, my face feeling utterly cold. Even after they had walked into the hotel, my phone continued to record the empty streetlights. I couldn't snap out of it for a long time. 15 minutes later, I received a message from Marcus. "Honey, something urgent came up at the office, so I'm working late. I probably won't be home until tomorrow morning. Don't miss me too much if you wake up in the middle of the night. Love you." A tear splattered onto my phone screen. I didn't close my eyes all night. Marcus walked in promptly at 8 in the morning, true to his word, carrying coffee and pastries from my favorite place. His eyes were deeply bruised with dark circles. I asked, feigning indifference, "Didn't sleep all night?" Marcus complained, feigning annoyance, "Don't even mention it. That secretary is so stupid, she just can't learn anything. No matter how much I teach her." An uncontrollable thought formed in my mind. Teach. Was he teaching her sickeningly sweet nothings or different positions in bed? But I didn't ask aloud. Marcus then packed his suitcase and explained to me, "The plan needs to be implemented. So I have to go on a business trip out of town, honey, after you've had breakfast. Why don't you catch up on some sleep? You look very tired too. Chloe will be back from William and Margaret's in a couple of days, and then there won't be any chance to be lazy." I nodded slowly, "Okay." After he left, I rushed to the bathroom. I'd been throwing up all night, and even pushing my stomach to its limit. I could only retch up a little sour bile. Looking at him genuinely made me sick. Then, I threw all the breakfast into the trash. I opened the app on my phone. Marcus was too careless. He had forgotten that when he bought the dashcam, he had specifically chosen a smart model for safety. All you had to do was download the app on your phone, and you could view everything happening inside the car in real time. Less than 20 minutes later, I heard the sound of the door opening again. Ashley's voice trailed off, rising high like a proud sparrow, instantly recognizable. She grumbled softly, "Old man, won't let a girl rest." Then came a yelp of pain. Ashley laughed, trembling. "I'm sorry. You're not old, not at all, mister. Marcus is even more amazing than young guys, please. Last night was so intense. Let me rest today." Amid their laughter, the car quickly sped onto the highway. Bored, Ashley started sharing amusing anecdotes from her life. She was, after all, Marcus's secretary. When talking about colleagues, her tone was filled with disdain and utter disregard, until the conversation turned to me. Marcus, if you don't like Summer, why don't you divorce her? The car fell into a deathly silence. Marcus's voice cut in coldly. You've crossed the line. Ashley immediately fell silent. After a long pause, she pleaded in a fawning tone, Marcus, don't be angry. I'm just jealous. Marcus said, disobedient little vixens need to be punished. The sound of a zipper echoed, accompanied by wet, muffled sounds. I held back countless times, barely restraining myself from smashing the phone to the ground. 10 minutes later, Ashley's coughing could be heard. She grumbled softly, what's the point of using this mouth? It's not like I can get pregnant anyway, Marcus said. You will eventually. I felt as if I had been struck by lightning. My gaze slowly drifted from my phone to the photo album on the table, a family portrait taken when Chloe was 1 month old. There was a message inscribed on the back, just as he had often promised me. Marcus's handwriting was clear and strong. For the rest of my life, Daddy will only have Chloe. My one good little girl now. He was enthusiastically discussing having another child with someone else. I felt my heart clench. In the end, I couldn't hold back. I furiously grabbed the photo and threw it away. Then I sank to the floor. Weeping silently, I thought bitterly, Marcus, those who break their vows will face retribution. To compensate Ashley for Valentine's Day, Marcus had fully entrusted the office's affairs to Sam and taken her on a road trip. The forest, the beach, the hills. As I watched the scenery on the dashcam, I thought of the family trips Marcus had promised countless times but always postponed due to work. It felt utterly ironic. Every boundary became meaningless in front of Ashley, and I even more so, felt like a joke. Even while traveling with Ashley every day, Marcus didn't forget to message me. My phone buzzed incessantly. Honey, this supplier is bald and has a terrible temper. It's such a hassle. I'm so tired. Can you give me a massage when I get home? Honey, I'm going to work hard and try to get you a new car this year. I scrolled through them with a cold eye. Marcus's fabrications were incredibly convincing. His social media feed showed no trace of anything amiss. I forced a bitter smile. For so many years, everyone had called him the perfect husband. He took pride in it. He lied so much. He even started to believe his own lies. While I was off traveling, I returned to my hometown after giving birth. My health had been consistently poor. William and Margaret, retired from public service with comfortable means and ample free time, took on the burden of caring for Chloe. When I knocked on the door, William was playing with Chloe. Chloe sat in her stroller, giggling. Her tender face was so adorable. My heart suddenly calmed. Margaret was delighted to see me back. As she wiped her hands, she commented on how thin I looked and said she was going to stew some meat to nourish me. I sat on the sofa, holding Chloe. My mind was constantly occupied with how to tell William and Margaret about wanting a divorce. When my eyes suddenly fell upon a medicine box under the coffee table. Whose is this? I abruptly stood up, startling Chloe, who burst into tears. William quickly snatched it and hid it behind his back. Don't make a fuss, sweetheart. Your father is getting on in years. He's bound to have a few ailments. A trip to the hospital for some medicine is all it takes. He clearly didn't want to elaborate. It wasn't until I was about to leave that Margaret pulled me aside. After confirming William wasn't paying attention, she whispered, the doctor said your father has a heart condition and can't handle stress. Oh well. It's nothing serious though. Since you and Marcus are doing so well, we're at ease. My heart felt clutched by an invisible hand. The words I want a divorce hovered on my lips, only to be swallowed back with a bitter taste. Marcus returned home 3 days later. Seeing in her stroller, he excitedly rushed over to play with her. Baby, you haven't seen Daddy in so long. Do you miss me? Chloe sucked on her fingers. He also handed me a few boxes of local specialties, saying with a smile, honey, these are the gourmet pastries you used to love so much. Surprise? Perhaps out of guilt, he didn't dare look me directly in the eye, and naturally didn't notice my cold gaze. Rambling on about how it was our 3rd wedding anniversary today, perfect timing. Both my big baby and my little baby are home when I get off work. We'll celebrate our 3rd wedding anniversary in a big way this year. I felt a little dazed. Margaret's words echoing in my mind. Aside from his infidelity, Marcus was considered a good husband in the eyes of others. He was generous with money for me and adored Chloe. After work, he often turned down business dinners just to come home and be with his wife and child. What if I pretended not to know? I closed my eyes tightly, feeling immense pain in my heart. The living room felt like a dividing line. Marcus was ecstatic, while I endured each day as if it were a year. I decided to try. That evening, I cooked a table full of delicious dishes. Chloe was already fast asleep from exhaustion. Marcus hadn't returned yet. As for where he went, I knew perfectly well. Originally, he had planned to come home after work as usual and had even argued with Ashley about it. In a panic, his phone had been smashed. Marcus wanted to get angry, but Ashley cried out, "Today is the anniversary of her mother's passing. Marcus, please just pity me and stay, okay?" Marcus had lost his father at a young age. Hearing's words, he completely softened. I closed the dashcam feed. I sat in the living room, the last shred of hope in my heart utterly shattered. As the clock struck midnight, I looked up at the wedding photo hanging on the wall, then pulled open a drawer. The divorce papers lay conspicuously on top. After a long while, I made a few symbolic phone calls. Naturally, no one answered, so I dialed 911, my face grim, yet my voice was filled with urgency, even a sobbing plea. "My husband is missing. Can you please help me?" At 1 in the morning, everyone was sleepy-eyed. The police officer typed on his keyboard, registering the report. As I helplessly scrolled through my call history, until subordinate Sam arrived. He was a chubby young man who looked very kind, but I knew perfectly well that more than half the reason Marcus's affair hadn't been discovered by anyone, including me, was due to Sam's cover-up. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw him covered in cold sweat. Behind my back, he must have made countless calls. He called Marcus, but there was no answer. He called Ashley, but her phone was off. Sam was visibly uneasy. Even though the weather was still a bit cool, sweat soaked his back. I suppressed a sneer, poured him a glass of warm water, and gently pushed it across. "Thank you for coming, Sam." Guilty, didn't even dare to look up, as if he were sitting on pins and needles. After a search, the police finally confirmed Marcus was at the office. I also called in a few female colleagues. They were my closest friends from our company team dinners. Now, hearing that I needed help, they naturally offered their assistance without hesitation. The lights were on in the top floor office, and faint moans could be heard. Everyone suddenly realized what was happening, and their gazes at me filled with sympathy. I secretly clenched my hands, still feigning ignorance, until the police pushed open the glass door, and the ambiguous, illicit atmosphere abruptly ceased. Ashley, barely clothed, hastily hid under the computer desk. I vaguely recognized the lace lingerie she was wearing. It was the same set he had bought the day before Valentine's Day. My stomach again began to churn with acid. Marcus was also startled, using the computer desk for cover. He quickly pulled on his pants before snapping impatiently, "What are you doing here?" The police cleared a path. He saw the familiar employees and froze. Then, his gaze fell on me, his pupils revealing a mixture of panic and terror. I rushed forward, slapping him while crying. The slap was half an act, half genuine. As a housewife who had proactively called the police, I fully displayed the hysterical rage of a woman betrayed by her husband. "Marcus, you bastard. Today is our 3rd wedding anniversary, and you promised to come home from work for dinner. Chloe waited and waited. I called you, but you wouldn't answer, and I never imagined you'd be." I was so enraged I nearly fainted. Several female colleagues rushed forward, flustered, to support me. They cast disdainful glances at Ashley, then glared at Marcus with righteous indignation. Uttering 4 words, "Cheating scoundrel and his mistress," I had never imagined that on the early morning after our 3rd wedding anniversary, I, my husband, and his mistress would all gather at the police station. Ashley, having been slapped several times by me and the female colleagues amidst the chaos, covered her face and tearfully recounted her whereabouts to the police. After completing her statement, she burst into tears and lunged towards Marcus. "How could this happen? Marcus, fire all these people, or else who knows what they'll say about me behind my back." Marcus simply moved away. The man who had been so affectionate towards Ashley in the dashcam footage now wore a face full of indifference. "What does that have to do with me? If you hadn't actively seduced me, would they be talking about you behind your back?" Ashley froze on the spot, staring at Marcus in disbelief. Finally, her gaze swept towards me again. She suddenly understood, her expression turning frantic. "Actively seduced. Marcus, you even promised we'd have a child together someday, and now you're pretending to be faithful?" Marcus was furious, his face red with shame. "Enough. I advise you to leave now. if you piss me off, you'll end up losing your job at the office too. Think carefully. Ashley suddenly fell silent. She was unwilling, yet dared not defy him. Outwardly, I appeared mortified, but inwardly, I scrutinized her from head to toe. Last night, I had paid someone to investigate her. A young woman from a rural background, with a bachelor's degree. She had originally worked in sales at the office. After that Valentine's Day evening last year, she had transformed, becoming Marcus's personal secretary, earning a salary far beyond what she deserved. Losing meant she lost her powerful backer. If she lost her job too, it would be nothing short of a catastrophe for her. After all, the luxury goods she flaunted on her social media feed required substantial financial support. As she walked past me to leave, Ashley paused for a moment. She whispered through gritted teeth, "Summer, are you very pleased with yourself?" Outwardly, I didn't even spare her a glance. But inwardly, I was utterly devastated. Pleased? A month ago, I firmly believed my husband was loyal to me. A month later, I caught him in the act, ripping off the facade of our happy marriage for all to see. What was there to be pleased about? After we returned home from the police station, Marcus kept his head down. He stammered and mumbled for a long time before finally deciding to make excuses to me. "Summer, I was just out of my mind today. I don't know why I did it with her." Stopped him and pulled out the divorce papers. "Sign them." Marcus choked with anger and panic, his face flushing crimson. Seeing the divorce papers, his voice sharply rose. "Divorce? You actually want to divorce me?" "Summer, we dated for 3 years, and we've been married for 3 years. Now is over a year old. Are you going to divorce me just because I made one mistake?" He was so self-righteous, so much so that I almost thought I, the one asking for a divorce, was the one at fault. I couldn't take it anymore and threw the evidence onto the table. A full 5 gigabytes of videos, photos, and chat screenshots. Seeing these, Marcus was utterly speechless. He didn't even have the courage to reach out and pick them up. His gaze fell on the divorce papers next to them, and he suddenly understood. He mumbled to himself, You knew everything, but you treated me like an idiot." Quietly gathering evidence, saying nothing today, "You deliberately called the police, didn't you?" "Summer, how did I never realize your heart could be so cruel?" I let out a quiet sob. With trembling hands, I took off my glasses, gently wiped away the tears that had fallen on them, then put them back on. Regaining my composure, I spoke as calmly as I could. "Marcus?" He fell silent. I shuffled through the photos, barely managing to keep my voice from trembling, and asked the question I had long wanted to ask. "We've been together for 6 years. When we first graduated, I gritted my teeth and lived a hard life with you. After we married, I risked amniotic fluid embolism to give birth to our daughter, Chloe. I took care of your mother for years, and she never had a single complaint about me. Honestly, I've done everything I possibly could. How have you treated me in return?" Looking at the photos, so explicit they would be immediately banned if posted online, Marcus lowered his head. He said, "I was wrong, honey. 3 years ago, when I married Marcus, no one approved. How could a young man who lost his mother early and came from a poor background be worthy of a wealthy young lady living in a luxurious penthouse?" But I didn't give up. William and Margaret disagreed, so I gritted my teeth and moved out. Marcus and I lived in an apartment less than 15 square meters, so cramped that turning over felt crowded. All to save money. He was always remorseful, but with my encouragement, he quickly pulled himself together again. "Summer, I'm going to work hard and earn a lot of money." He kept his word. A year later, the company he founded successfully secured 2 major contracts. Eventually, he became a well-known local entrepreneur. By the time I became pregnant with Chloe, we had already moved from our rented apartment to a fully paid lakeside villa at the foot of the mountain. At that time, everyone started praising Marcus again, saying he was resilient and achieved success at a young age. Whenever this happened, Marcus would always act modest, saying, "That's all thanks to having a good wife." Marcus, who adored his wife, became even more of an indulgent husband after I got pregnant. He always bought the most expensive supplements. We went to the best hospitals. Even the specialized postpartum care facility alone cost over $100,000. Even during childbirth, he put on sterile protective gear and insisted on staying by my side. Giving birth to Chloe was truly difficult. The little girl seemed tiny, but her head was quite large. She got stuck halfway, her little face turning blue-purple. No matter how hard I pushed, I couldn't deliver her. The doctor had no choice but to perform an episiotomy. Perhaps it was instinct, but I barely registered the pain until I heard the cry of the baby. I felt a wave of relief, but knelt on the floor, sobbing uncontrollably. Honey, no more babies. We won't have any more children. That was agonizing. This one daughter is our sole treasure, like an heir to a throne. No more children after this. The doctors and nurses in the hospital all smiled. They said Marcus was a rare good man, especially the nurse who tied my wristband. She said that among all the men she had seen in the delivery room, only Marcus had cried so uncontrollably. William and Margaret also said that in that moment, they, who had initially disagreed with our marriage, truly felt at ease about Marcus, a man who genuinely cared about his wife's suffering during childbirth. How could he possibly cheat? Even now, I have to admit that deep down, I didn't want to believe it. I wanted to slap myself twice, to deceive myself that it was just a nightmare, but the reality was grotesquely comical. When the nurse performed the episiotomy to save Chloe, Marcus had inadvertently glanced over. The gush of blood was more shocking than any typical wound. It left him traumatized ever since. Yet he never communicated this to me. I thought he avoided intimacy with me because he cared for my body and genuinely intended to get a vasectomy so I wouldn't suffer childbirth again. Little did I know, he had found another solution. He unleashed all his desires upon another young body that hadn't endured the trauma of an episiotomy. He was living happily, only I had been constantly depleting myself, struggling, and after discovering the truth, I was plagued by self-doubt, pain, and eventually, a twisted sense of relief. Ashley hadn't given up calling him. In fact, when Marcus bought a new phone and installed the SIM card, a flood of missed calls popped up. He ignored every single one, so started calling me. Her tone was laced with jealousy and a hint of envy. Summer, I know you're a person with high moral standards. This man has already been tainted by me. Do you still want him? I had him on speakerphone. After heard Ashley's words, he rushed over frantically and cut the call. Then, he used my phone to block Ashley. I scoffed lightly. Is this supposed to be amusing? Marcus, you don't actually think that by burying your head in the sand, you'll pretend nothing happened, do you? Marcus remained silent. Just then, Chloe, who was lying in the bedroom, began to cry loudly. I was about to stand up. Marcus rushed over faster than I could, skillfully picking up Chloe and starting to soothe her. Once was sound asleep, Marcus looked up at me. Summer, look at Chloe, she's only just over a year old. Do you want her to grow up without a father? I lost my father at a young age, so I understand this pain more than you, who grew up in a complete family. Just for Chloe's sake, can you not completely dismiss me because of one mistake? Marcus refused to divorce. He tore up one set of divorce papers after another, consistently refusing to sign. He even wrote a letter of repentance, following an online template. Summer, please forgive me this one time, okay? I swear to you, if I ever cheat again, may I die a horrible death. He spoke with deep sincerity. To demonstrate his sincerity, he even proactively diluted his shares, transferring 13% of the office's stock into my name. This way, even if I did nothing, I would receive tens of millions in dividends. I pulled out another set of divorce papers from under the coffee table. Divorce? My utterly calm demeanor completely enraged Marcus. He grabbed my throat and pressed me onto the bed. Didn't you want me to be intimate with you? It'll satisfy you. My clothes were completely stripped away. I felt suffocated, my legs thrashing wildly. Marcus paid no attention. He pinned me to the bed, covering my face, neck, and body with frantic kisses. Before, I would have craved such intimacy, but now, when I thought about Ashley having the same experience as me, I just felt this man was utterly disgusting. Let go of me. Even though I struggled with all my might, Marcus still wouldn't release me. As if numbing himself, or perhaps trying to convince me, he kept repeating, Summer, if we just have another child, everything will be fine. With 2 children, you won't leave, have a son, complete our family. No, having another daughter would be fine too. As the last layer of my clothing was about to be removed, Marcus's hand unreliably moved downwards. I reached my limit, grabbing the table lamp beside me. Thud. Blood streamed down Marcus's forehead. He was momentarily stunned. Feeling the liquid, he lightly wiped it away with his hand. I immediately rolled off the bed, rushed to the kitchen, and grabbed the kitchen knife. If you dare come closer, I'll kill you. Marcus took a step forward. I sadly realized that this held no deterrent power over Marcus whatsoever, so I turned the blade towards myself, or I'll kill myself. Finally, panic flickered in Marcus's eyes. He stood in the kitchen doorway, gripping the frame, not daring to take another step, like a cornered beast. He pleaded, "Summer, what exactly do you want?" I answered resolutely, "A divorce." Marcus still shook his head. "Can't we just not get a divorce? What happened between Ashley and me was a mistake. Without her, our lives will go back to normal." I pressed the blade against my neck. My hand trembled, and a thin line of blood immediately appeared. Marcus's legs gave out, and he collapsed to his knees. "Don't, Summer, I beg you, don't hurt yourself," I repeated firmly. I want a divorce. I was fed up with living in constant anxiety, always wondering if my husband's late return was due to normal overtime or if he was out with his mistress. I was fed up with the intimacy that hid my contempt. I thought it was a natural progression of deep affection, but in Marcus's eyes, it was a compromise and disgusting. I'm no saint, and I am truly, truly fed up. Marcus finally realized that what was happening before his eyes was irreversible. He lowered his gaze, and 2 lines of tears streamed down his face. "Okay, divorce, I agree." There was a 1-month cooling off period for divorce. I drove, taking Chloe back to William and Margaret's house. This time, seeing me dragging a suitcase with Chloe in my arms, William and Margaret finally realized something was wrong. I took a deep breath, looking intently at William. "William, Margaret, I want a divorce." The atmosphere in the living room was incredibly heavy. William, who had just taken his blood pressure medication, sat on the sofa, his expression complex. "Summer, aren't you being ridiculous? 3 years ago, Margaret and I advised you not to marry Marcus, but you were as stubborn as a mule. Impossible to persuade now. Things are getting better. Marcus is a big boss, and you've given birth to Chloe. Why are you still stirring things up?" Before coming, I had imagined William would surely disagree. He didn't want me to make trouble. From childhood, his only demand for me was stability. But I couldn't do that. I laid everything out. After they listened, a thought formed in my mind. If tried to persuade me to forgive Marcus this one time, I would leave immediately. Whether I stayed in a hotel or went to another city, no one could stop me from getting a divorce. But to my surprise, after hearing what had happened, William actually rushed into the kitchen, grabbing a kitchen knife, intending to confront Marcus. William, always so kind and highly educated, rarely swore. "Marcus, that bastard. What did he promise me originally? That H never betray me in this lifetime. He actually found another woman. I'll kill him." Margaret and I quickly stopped William. In the end, Chloe sensed something and started crying, which made William drop the knife. I cried too. "William, is it wrong for me to get a divorce?" Tears streamed down William's face. He sighed deeply and gently stroked my head. "Actually, it has nothing to do with whether you get a divorce or not. William's health is getting worse and worse. He's afraid that one day he'll suddenly be gone, leaving you and Margaret behind. Margaret has her pension. But what about you? Ever since you gave birth, your health hasn't been good. Now you're also raising a child, and William is worried you'll suffer. But if you're being mistreated and want a divorce, William supports you." He retrieved a savings account passbook from the safe at home and handed it to me. "At worst, it'll be just like before. William and Margaret will support you." My restless, uneasy heart finally settled down at that moment. 2 months were about to fly by. At first, Marcus still came looking for me, attempting to persuade me through William and Margaret. In the end, William threw him out. He wouldn't give up, finding all sorts of excuses to contact me. I ignored him completely. Eventually, he completely calmed down. It was Ashley, on the other hand. Her becoming a secretary through an illicit relationship already raised many eyebrows among colleagues at the office. Furthermore, several female employees with a strong sense of justice, after personally witnessing my breakdown and Marcus's panic that day, grew even more contemptuous of Ashley's behavior in breaking up another's family. Marcus didn't fire her. He merely transferred her to an administrative position. Even so, she was still walking on thin ice, so she started relentlessly harassing me, insisting on meeting me in person. If one number didn't go through, she'd switch to another. I found it, but for love, your appearance proves that his love became worthless. That kind of love should be thrown in the trash. Should I still cling to it and make myself sick? Ashley was speechless. Then she said, "Then did you know he actually got a vasectomy?" This news caught me by surprise. I thought it was just an excuse Marcus used to deceive me. Ashley gave a bitter laugh. "He repeatedly promised me that we would have children in the future. Yet, for your sake, he secretly got a vasectomy. What kind of man is he?" After and I met, I heard from colleagues that she voluntarily resigned from the office. From then on, there was no further news about her. A week later, the 2-month cooling off period expired. Marcus and I arrived at the registrar's office at the same time. He looked utterly despondent. He, who always paid attention to his appearance and neatness, was unshaven and even had mismatched shoes. Seeing me, he forced a smile. Summer, I didn't bother with small talk, getting straight to the point, and went with him to the counter to complete the process. Only when the divorce certificate was in hand did I feel a profound sense of relief. Marcus had been observing my expression, and seeing it, he gave a bitter smile. Are you really so impatient to divorce me? I nodded sharply. Yes, the sooner the divorce is finalized, the sooner I can start a new life. Marcus then asked, Summer, can I pursue you again? Even if it means starting as just friends. I pondered for a moment, then shook my head. If you come to visit Chloe, you are always welcome, but regarding relationships, I've always firmly believed one thing. Couples who truly loved each other cannot be friends after they separate. The moment I see you, I'll be reminded of the time we spent together, how we overcame such difficult days, only to not make it to the end. Marcus, for everyone's sake, please don't have that idea anymore. Let's just consider it a way for us to maintain more dignity when we meet as Chloe's parents in the future. Marcus's spirit was completely crushed. He mumbled, all right, after the divorce, I lived my life as usual. I used to be a housewife, but at least I hadn't completely forgotten what I learned in university. With Aunt Margaret's support and the assets I received from the divorce, I went abroad for further studies. During this period, I left Chloe in the country. After all, she was just a child, and at first, she developed separation anxiety from not seeing me for extended periods. She would either cry or throw tantrums. After visited her as usual, Chloe never again mentioned wanting me to come back home quickly. I was curious what Marcus had told her. Chloe answered truthfully, William said that Mom is an excellent woman who has the freedom to pursue her dreams. I don't want. That's all for today's story. Thank you for listening. This is my channel. The tales I share drawn from life or woven from imagination are meant to offer you connection, reflection, and perhaps solace or newfound strength. If you long to see your own reflection in others' journeys, or seek a glimmer of light within the maze of emotions, subscribe to my channel. Listen with your heart. Explore the stories of life.